Hi, my name is Julia Mathews and I'm a grad student at Tarleton State University, and today I'm going to be talking to y'all about ACL injuries, not just the music festival. So go ahead and watch these two videos and we will continue the lecture.
Now Rebecca Bross on the vault. She's had back-to-back falls off the balance beam on both nights of competition.
This is difficult for Rebecca. She can do it well, but those ankles.
Oh, golly.
Oh, dear. Oh, dear.
Oh,
Oh,
God.
dear. Oh, no.
That had all the bad things that can happen on a vault. She was under-rotated. She was twisting still as she hit the ground. And as a gymnastics coach and a gymnast, every single person in this arena that is affiliated with gymnastics knows that that can be the deadliest of combinations. An under-rotated, still twisting into the floor landing.
The defending national champion out in a wheelchair here in St. Paul.
Look, we're looking to sweep you guys. You wanted us. You were crying out that you bypassed the harder team in Miami Heat.
Roche came down bad on his left foot. See him holding onto his knee and down. He was flying and he came down wrong on the left foot. Now, whether it was an ankle or a knee, I do not know. There's Coach Collins out there and all his teammates running. And this, with the injury, we just talked about the 26 games he has missed with an assortment of injuries, and now holding a knee late in a game that is already decided for all intents and purposes.
And I'm sure everyone around the country is going to say, why was he in the game?
Let's see how he comes down on the left leg. Keep an eye on the left leg. There. Yep, when he planted, that's when whatever happened. Let's see here.
Yeah, it's before he comes down. It's the plant right there on that left leg.
There was some give. There was some give on that knee, and you could see it.
Looked like it went in, too.
That's what I'm saying.
So what is an ACL? Well, ACL stands for anterior cruciate ligament. It is in your knee. Obviously, by watching those two videos, you kind of figured that the ACL is in your knee. Well, in your knee, it is attached to the distal end of your femur, and by distal, I mean the furthest part of the femur away from you. So distal femur to us, or to anyone really, is the furthest away, so towards your toes, the end of the femur that's towards your toes. And the proximal end of your tibia, well, proximal meaning closest to us, so the top of your tibia. So right where your knee is, and then femur and tibia right there. Basically what the ACL does is it allows us to rotate our tibia only so much in relation to our femur, and it helps support our knee during those rotations. So what sports can you see an ACL injury? Well, we already know by watching the two videos in the beginning that gymnastics and basketball are two of them. Another one would be soccer and football. Football is huge. That's all that we hear when we watch TV, right? When we're watching college football or the NFL, or even just going to a high school football game, or maybe even like Pee Wee football. So sometimes when you're playing football or any kind of contact sport, you place your knee and you try to twist, and there it goes. There's your ACL. It either partially tears or it's torn. Also, ACL injuries don't just happen in sports. It could happen in everyday life. You could just be walking down the hallway to your next class and say like, hey to your friend, and you take a step and you turn weird and your tibia is just like, I'm not having it. So it tears your ACL, and sorry about you. So when it comes to determining how badly injured your ACL is, there are 3 different grades to go by. Grade 1 is that you kind of stretched it a little bit, not so much. There's still a lot of support in your knee. Grade 2 is you stretched it so much that there's really no support, and sometimes in a grade 2 you could partially tear your ACL. In grade 3, it's totally tore, done for, no more support in your knee. You probably can't walk, probably shouldn't walk anyway when you have an ACL injury, but with a grade 3 you definitely cannot. Now, when it comes to treatment for it, definitely for grade 1 and possibly grade 2, depending on how bad your grade 2 or how not so bad your grade 2 injury is, you're going to just go straight to physical therapy. But for grade 3 and probably grade 2, you're going to have surgery to either reconstruct or repair your ACL. But no matter what, you're going to have to go through physical therapy. And with physical therapy, you're going to go through flexibility exercises and strengthening exercises and endurance activities and coordination and agility training to build your strength back up so that you're able to go back to your sport or back to everyday life. Now, when it comes to recovering during your physical therapy, you're going to be basically out of your sport for almost a year. For the first 6 weeks, you're probably going to be wearing a knee brace or be using crutches. For the next 2 to 4 weeks, you're probably going to do RICE, which I would do RICE anytime during my recovery. RICE stands for rest, ice, compression, and elevation. You can start back to regular walking without crutches after about 12 weeks. At 6 months, you can start practicing running again, and you can go back to your sport between 9 and 12 months. So almost a whole year or to a whole year of recovery for an ACL injury. But when it comes to returning to your sport or just to everyday life workflow, you're going to have a medical professional pass you and say, hey, it's okay to return to your sport. And usually what the protocol is to return back to your sport is that you need to have full range of motion of your knee. You can't have any pain in the affected knee. You have to have the ability to walk or run, and well, both. The ability to move laterally and diagonally, and the ability to jump, crouch, or kneel on that affected knee. So here are some ways to prevent an ACL injury if you've never had the injury before. First of all, you need to avoid wearing cleats in contact sports, because once you plant your feet in, it's kind of hard to move your feet when your feet are kind of stuck to the ground. So you kind of be twisting and turning weird, and you might possibly injure your ACL. And also, I would just avoid contact sports in general. I don't like contact sports. I love watching them, but I can't be a part of it because I'm afraid I would hurt myself. But if you've already had the injury, I would just wear your knee brace just for precaution. I would just to know that my knee is safe in its knee brace. Also, I would change up my technique a little bit so it wouldn't happen again. And also just keep stretching and strengthening your ACL. I interviewed one of my very good friends, Wyatt Wilson. He played football at Southern Nazarene University in Oklahoma. And he injured his ACL while playing football. And he told me that one day they practiced in the gym for some reason, and they didn't allow them to wear their shoes in the gym. So he misplaced his foot and he slipped and he tried to catch himself and his knee twisted and he tore his ACL. And that's how that happens. You just have to think about where your foot placement is on the ground, even if you don't have shoes on, which to begin with, why would they practice without shoes on in a gym is beyond me. But even just wearing socks like I am now, you just need to plant your feet down so that you know that you have good contact with the floor and not twist so hard. Well, thank you guys for watching my lecture, and I hope that you took notes because you're going to be taking a test over this video lecture and my PowerPoint presentation over ACL, not just the music festival. And by music festival, I mean Austin City Limits, which no, that's not what this lecture was about. It was about your anterior cruciate ligament. Thank you guys, and I hope you have a fabulous day, and I'll see y'all soon.